Your wish fulfilled is going to cost you your current self-concept. Now, that's not my opinion. That's actually in the words of Neville Goddard. And just so we're clear about what a wish fulfilled is, it's that experience that you really want to be having right now. Maybe it's about a relationship. Maybe it's about an amount of money or a sense of purpose with your career. That experience you long for, but no matter what you try to do, no matter how much change you try to create, you can't quite get there. Now, in this video, I'm going to share with you why this is happening and why your current self-concept is actually blocking you. But ultimately, I'm going to share in the last part of this video the 3 keys that you can do to change your self-concept so that you can experience your wish fulfilled. And these are the 3 things I've personally used, which have completely shifted my self-concept and allowed me to experience things that in the past I only daydreamed about. Now, I want to start first with quotes by Neville so we can hear it according to him. Now, the first quote is, "You must assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled until your assumption has the sensory vividness of reality." Now, remember, an assumption is not a truth. It's not a fact of the universe. An assumption is something you give permission and consent to be true. It's heavily rooted from experiences, messages, environments that you grew up in from the past. Remember, specifically from the ages of birth to 7 years old, we're big, huge sponges, and we're just absorbing nonstop assumptions, thinking that that's how the world works. And unless you upgrade them, which is what I'm going to teach you to do later in the video, unless you do that, you'll continue to run on autopilot, and you'll think that it's you're the problem. You're not capable, but really it's those assumptions. And just like that quote said, until they're at the level of vividness, you won't be able to see any changes. Now, let's get to the second quote. "The assumption of the wish fulfilled is the ship that carries you over the unknown seas to the fulfillment of your dream. The assumption is everything. Realization is subconscious and effortless." So realize the changes that he's talking about to experience your wish fulfilled is not just at the mental level. He said that in the first quote. He's talking about at the subconscious, at the feeling level. This ties right in why the feeling is the secret. The feeling, having that assumption at the feeling level, which we're going to get into in just a little bit. But the other part of this is the word effortless. So often I see different videos and people talking about how it's effortless, but there's a misunderstanding of what that word is. If you look at the etymology, if you're like me and nerd out on etymologies and really understanding the essence and energy of words, well, effortless has nothing to do with a lack of action. It has to do with a lack of strenuous strain, pushing a boulder up a mountain. You can be in a flow and be inspired and take action that brings you more energy because you feel so aligned and you know the truth of where you're going and the beliefs about yourself, and that can be effortless. Even if you're working really, really hard, it's the experience with that work that you're having. So just get really clear that the level of that assumption has to be both subconscious, which is not a mental thing, it's a feeling thing, it's in your body, and effortless. This shouldn't be something where you're spending 20 hours out of your day fighting and looking to see if there's any changes and then going back to it. So let me visually show you why most people have yet to experience their wish fulfilled because of their self-concept. So right now I have these 2 different vessels. They're going to represent 2 different self-concepts. This first one is going to be your current self-concept. And you can see it's filled with different papers. These papers are going to represent your assumptions. So remember, your self-concept is essentially a collection of assumptions. Now, this is the current one, and this right here, this magical, beautiful vessel is going to represent your wish fulfilled, the self-concept that you'll have to have in order to have that experience. Now, what a lot of people do is you might have an idea that you have to work really hard for love. You have to prove it. You have to earn it. You might have an idea that you're not enough. No matter what you do, you work really, really hard and it's never enough. You might have an assumption that everyone always leaves. They're always going to abandon you. or an assumption that basically you feel that you as yourself, you're broken, something's wrong with you. So this collection of assumptions is your current self-concept, and that concept is going to attract to it, or you can say you'll only have goggles to see and perceive in the world of experiences that are equal to it. Now, we know in quantum physics, it shows us, especially in the double slit experiment, there are infinite wave potentials out there. Every possible experience you could have exists, but it's in waves and we can't see those waves. But when we collapse the potential and we energetically collapse that potential of ourselves according to this self-concept, we get those experiences, right? Now, if you would want this, maybe it's that loving, secure relationship, that amount of money. To have that, let's see if I can get my hand in here, you'd have to feel worthy. You'd have to know your value in the world. Maybe it would be about knowing that you're whole and complete, having confidence, right? Being empowered. It's a completely different set of assumptions that this first self-concept is. Now, the mistake people make is that they want to see this experience in their life and start to have it, and then they'll dump out those assumptions and then they'll come be over here, okay? Now, that can't happen because what do we say? This set of assumptions is all we can experience in our life. That this assumption is a level of consciousness and it will always attract, perceive of experiences, people, and situations that are equal to it. So the idea that when that thing comes in, then I can believe and then I can shift and change my assumptions, you'll just perpetually be on this path. These paths don't cross. The only way that you can cross them is you have to start releasing these and shifting these assumptions. And a lot of these have the same root, so don't feel overwhelmed right now. But as you change your assumptions, that's the only way that you can actually start to empty these new assumptions in here, if it will, and essentially be in this experience. Again, the biggest mistake people make is they want to see it. They want to have that person come in and then they'll drop their assumption that they're not worthy. Have that amount of money, then they'll feel more abundant. But you have to start shifting the assumption at the belief level. Realize that your subconscious is the warehouse to your assumptions. So if you're not going into the subconscious realm, into the feeling realm, you won't be able to have any effect on these assumptions, and they'll continue to play out and you'll feel crazy because you're trying so hard and nothing's changing. It's because that energy isn't going into the level that is necessary. But let me show you how to do that. Now, if this is resonating for you and you'd like a little bit more help and support, I am offering currently one-on-one sessions where we will sit down together and I will help you deep dive and apply exactly what I'm showing you, exactly what I used in my own life to help you get more clarity and awareness so you can start taking new action that's going to take you towards your wish fulfilled, those experiences that you really want and deserve. If you are interested, there is a link below. Follow that link. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions and then we'll sit down together to help you get the support and clarity you deserve. So check it out below. So the first step is what I'd encourage you to start doing so you don't get so mental and think of it and leave yourself out, is to get very, very, very clear on yourself. Now, that might sound confusing because you're like, I am thinking about myself. I want this change. But you're thinking of maybe it's about money. If I had that money, I'd be spending it on this. My life would look like this. This stress would be gone. You know, if it's about love, if I had that person, they'd be texting me. We'd be going on these dates. Everything would feel great. But all that energy is still outside of you. And since it's just at the mental level and you're not really understanding what you're really looking for, the subconscious doesn't change. Those assumptions don't change. So I want you to take it a step back, okay? I want you to understand the essence or the end emotion that you associate, that you've attached to this experience. So with money, what need is that going to fulfill, having that money? Well, is it about maybe stability? If you had that amount of money, it would bring you a sense of stability. Have you ever felt any sort of feeling of stability in your life, even the smallest amount? Now, maybe the money would be, maybe it's about freedom. If you had that money, then you'd be able to travel around the world, whatever it is. But it's not the money you're wanting, it's really the freedom. So that's where we want to spend our energy, starting to tap into that. Because is there any time in your life that you've ever felt a sense of freedom? Even if it's just a sliver, we can amplify it. Now, if it's about love, maybe you attach a certain level of connection if you had that relationship. Maybe it's a sense of belonging if you were in that romantic relationship. The first part of this, step one, the first massive key to start to shift your self-concept so you can experience that wish fulfilled is going to be to start to tap in, what end emotion are you wanting? Now that we have kind of a roadmap of what we're trying to get to, now we might start experiencing some obstacles, some reasons why, oh, you can't have that. That never works for you. Those assumptions are going to start coming up. This is good because Neville Goddard says that the power of awareness. He has an entire book on this. Until we are aware of what our current assumption is, we can't change it. But with the power of awareness, which is like a light, a flashlight in a dark room, it lights it up. It gives us an ability or a chance to increase our consciousness, to start letting go of things that we didn't actually know we were attached to. So when these start coming up, write them down, because this is essentially where these assumptions come from. When you were growing up, here's little you, right? You're just innocent, you're wonderful, you're worthy, you're whole and complete, you're talented, all the good stuff. Now, some of us grow up in certain situations that cause us to think certain ways about ourselves, okay? So when you're growing up, you heavily, like all of your chips, if we were playing poker, even though I don't play, all of our chips are betting that our caretakers know better than us. Why? Because little you didn't have money, you couldn't drive a car, you didn't know how public transport works, nor should you have. So you had to bet that your caretaker knew better than you. And that also includes emotion, emotional maturity, capacity, all the things. This is why often in early on situations, we take the blame. Oh, well, if we were good enough, then we would have been loved. And since we weren't loved the way we needed to, it must be me. Now, the other thing that happens is your caretaker. Now, also realize that this caretaker could have looked a lot of different ways. They could have been very abusive, very mean, and understandably didn't have your best intentions in mind. This person could also have been very, very loving, wanted you the best for you, but they're human beings, and as much as they tried, they fell short in some ways, and that's okay. It's also okay for you to acknowledge that for yourself, because the more you do that, the more you become available to yourself, and the more you actually have the ability to expand your capacity. So this adult, do you love my drawing today? I hope you can see it. It's a little bit bright. Let's move it in a bit more. Okay, let's see if we can see a little bit better there. So this adult basically said that, they're going to draw a little picture of you, right? Maybe they thought that kids should be quiet. Maybe they always compared you. Maybe they told you if you got what you want, you were selfish. That's supposed to say earn. I misspelled it. It's fine. So maybe you thought or were taught that you have to earn what you want, that you have to fight really, really hard. Now, this is their opinion, expectation, or judgments of you. Now, what you did is you thought, this is me. This is who I am. This is how I get my needs met. This is how I'll move through the world. Because you trusted this person, you did right. You did the best you could. But the confusion is thinking that this is you. The biggest, easiest way to understand this is as you start to disconnect that their opinions, their expectations, their judgments of you are you, the more you can disconnect and start to see it from your adult mind, realizing, oh, okay, maybe they meant the best, but yeah, that was ridiculous to think love is not earned. If I get what my needs met, that's not selfish. That is literally what I was made to do. Do you go outside and see a tree and say, I think you're taking a little bit too many resources. Don't you think that rainwater should have gone to those flowers? You're over there sucking it up with your roots. That's pretty selfish. That's ridiculous. And the same goes for you. You getting your needs met was never selfish. It was literally what you were made to do. The idea that kids are supposed to be quiet, whatever the assumptions are, the more you can get to the root of what it is you believe, the more you can realize that most of these assumptions were formed by somebody else in an early on coping mechanism to stay safe. It was a brilliant strategy, but this idea of you right now, it's too small for you. You're an adult, and we got to expand those assumptions. So reviewing this and just understanding that that is how most of your assumptions are made, and then they're repeated because you keep finding more situations, people, and circumstances that echo them. All right, and the third key to shifting your self-concept and really getting to the root of these assumptions is going to be in the moment. We've covered where we want to go, and for step one, we've covered where these things come from so you can start to have your autonomy and send them back. And now we're going to uncover how you can make this a daily practice. So every day of your life, you're going to get opportunities. Congratulations. These are moments for you to make a new choice. Now, these are going to be specifically if you perceive you won't get your need met. Maybe someone's not going to be mad at you. Maybe you're not going to have your needs met. Maybe you're going to be rejected, right? So there's an event that comes up. Maybe your boss sends you something and asks you to work on it over the weekend, but you had asked for a day off on Friday, and now they're expecting you to work. So if you start telling the old story, the meaning of this is because I have to work really, really, really hard. Oops. You're out of frame here. I have to earn his respect. I have to, not have any needs. If I have needs, I'm selfish. So I better do this. If not, I have no sense of protecting myself. So I have to say yes. Now, here's a moment. And again, we know that this will be a moment because your physiology, your assumption warehouse, your body is going to start rumbling. It's going to start perceiving fear, because that fear is coming online because of this. That caretaker who told you had to be like this, even if they just was implied, that's coming online in your body current day. So what you got to say is, okay, starting to feel that if I stand up for myself, if I have boundaries, I'm going to get rejected. I'm going to disappoint them. They're going to be mad at me. Okay, you got to breathe. Just keep staying with your breath, because you're trying to break out of going to 1982 or 1992 and staying in 2024 or whenever it is you're watching this. So this event gives us a great opportunity. So we'll say this is the email. Okay, so we're breathing. This is A, B, C, the power of minding the gap. So A, awareness. Oh, I'm starting to tell the story. I'm starting to feel really afraid. I'm starting to get anxious. This is where the old forced you to self-abandon. And this is why you keep finding those self-abandoning moments, whether it be about money or people, because in the old structure, you had to self-abandon to have connection. But now you've got to make the big choice, the new choice. I got to take care of myself. Okay, I really want to self-abandon right now. Oh, I'm telling you, it's so scary. Okay, I'm safe. And you want to regulate your nervous system. And there's so many different things you can do here. You could go for a walk. You could have a breathing modality, breathing workout or exercise, a method you could use. Anything that's going to somatically, meaning involving your body, because remember, assumptions are not up here, they're in here. So we've got to get our body involved when it's afraid. We've got to take care of it. And that's going to be a lot of times movement or soothing, meditation, movement, exercise. And I know that's going to look a lot of different ways in a lot of situations. But how can you say, okay, it's actually more dangerous now for me to continue to have no boundaries. I had this thing set up. It's really important to me. So am I going to disappoint them, or am I going to disappoint me? And these are the choices that start getting more and more obvious, that when you start making a choice for you, you'll start seeing that new self-concept and those choices in the universe showing you equal equivalence of that new assumption. You're worthy, you're safe to be in that new self-concept. Over and over and over. For me, don't get the text. I'm not hearing from them. Oh my God, they're going to leave me. They don't want me anymore. If I'm alone, I'm all by myself. I don't have my needs met. And again, it would come from those early on experiences from my life And even though the fear in the moment wanted to tell me that I had to self-abandon and think of them, say yes to them, even if it was a no to me, that's a big way to see, is my yes to them a no for me? Then I can't say yes to that anymore because I don't want that in my life. So the more and more you do this, the more you're going to see profoundly new opportunities, and you're going to learn to have more self-confidence. Confidence, the root of that word is trust. You're going to learn to trust yourself because you're saying you're looking out for you, and in the moment, you're going to stand up and do it. When your actions and words are in alignment, that's integrity. So the more you do this, you will completely shift your self-concept. The reason that it hasn't worked so far is because it just stays mental. And in these moments when your body's screaming, I need help, you don't know what to do and you go with the old, which is understandable. It takes a little bit of work to be aware, to start to breathe, and to make the new choice. Become aware. Even for me, it started aware, oh, old choice, aware, old choice. And then I started to be aware and breathing, and ultimately I was able to do the new choice. The more you do this, the easier it gets because you're setting up new synaptic networks to create a new mind, a whole new set of assumptions. And just like I showed you earlier with that vessel, it holds within it totally new opportunities, and it holds your wish fulfilled. You are worthy and deserving of that experience. Now you might be thinking, that sounds great, but how can I actually start to feel something I've never felt? Well, this next video I made right here is going to show you exactly how you can start doing it. So check it out right there.